Hello there, this is an unboxing, as you can see, of the Sony FDR-AXP33, a 4K handycam, which I believe is known in the US as the AX33. They don't get the P, which is the little projector on the flip-out LCD. I don't know if that's something unique to the United Kingdom, or if that's a European thing, or what. But anyway, here it is. Effectively, it's the same camcorder, I believe, as the AX33, but this is the P version, which has that little projector. Very small box, very compact, hinting at what a compact camcorder it will be. And we start off, as ever, with the usual, that's the warranty information, some stuff about accessories. What's that? Something about registering, and a brief instruction manual, which is probably in several languages. No, that's all English. Okay, so there's a little smattering of instructions there. Interesting bit, of course, comes in here. We have, to start with, one UK power lead. Nothing extraordinary there. That is a USB cable, quite clearly. Presumably for charging, perhaps? I'm not entirely sure. That's full size to mini HDMI for watching what you're doing. And then a power adapter here, which will charge the battery on the back of the camcorder. Again, nothing out of the ordinary there. Is this a worldwide thing? Will this take any voltage? I can't see. My tired old eyes can't read what is moulded into the plastic. I'll look at that later. But it probably is. They tend to be these days, don't they? What's that? I think that might be the battery, actually. Yep, one little battery. Have a look, what size do we get? It's an NP FV70. And it is 1960 milliamp hours, 1.9 amp hours. Okay, pop that to one side. Then, over here, the camcorder itself. Is that the lot? That's the lot in the box. So, let's have a look. Now, this is, of course, a 4K camcorder, I think I mentioned. Oh, yes, it's quite short, quite stubby, though, isn't it? Quite chunky width-wise. I suppose that must be something to do with having the projector on the side. Okay. Balanced optical steady shot, we knew about that, and built-in projector with external input. That is actually something I didn't realise about this projector. It doesn't just project what's on the camcorder's memory. You can plug in anything with an HDMI output and use the camcorder to project it. So if you've got a tablet with an HDMI out, you can project your tablet's screen using this little built-in projector. Right, let's have a little look round then. There's the zoom rocker on top, little photo button, that's fairly standard. A viewfinder on the back, does that pull out? Yes, it does. Does it tilt? It also does. So for those of you who like looking through a viewfinder, your prayers are answered on this one. Flip out screen, which does the usual rotate, tilt to a certain degree. The projector we've already noticed. No buttons on the side here, and it is a touchscreen, I guess. Inside, SDXC card slot. Apparently you need not only a class 10, but a UHS-3 if you want to use the top spec recording mode on this, which is 100 megabits a second for that 4K recording. Projector input there, HDMI, and also the HDMI output from the camcorder itself. Little button to turn the projector on. The button at the top is Sony's anti-cameraman voice function. It's a bit weird. I tested this out on the AX100, I think it was. If you press that button, the camcorder supposedly listens more to the front than it does to the person behind, and sort of cancels out what the person behind is saying. I found it just made the sound a bit sort of thin and reedy, because, well, it can't really know what's coming from behind and whatever, can it? Can it? I don't know. Maybe it can. That's a button for putting the camcorder into playback mode instead of record. That's a night shot button, and that's power on off. And that seems to be it on there. Now, we do have on this camcorder the luxury of a front lens ring, whose function I believe is controlled by the button here. So I think it's something like you toggle through the function you want and then twist the ring to control it. That presumably will do zoom, focus, and some degree of iris control, although I remain to see exactly what. Underneath, tripod mount, battery release. Battery goes on the back there, obviously. There's the lens. It's a 10 times optical zoom from f1.8 to f3.8. It seems to imply, made by Zeiss. Of course, it has the balanced optical stabilization system where the entire sort of chippery and lens is mounted on this floating gimbal thing inside the camcorder, which should give you a very, very stable footage even when you're hand holding. What have we got here? So I quite like this on the Sonys. They have this little USB connector tucked into the side. I don't know if that allows charging that way or if that's just for getting files off, but we'll find out later, presumably. Start-stop button on the back. Little power and charging light. Flip that down to plug in the power for charging. And then slightly awkwardly underneath the handle here, flip that back and you have thankfully got a microphone socket there with plug-in power, so it'll power microphones that need a bit of power, like the Rode VideoMic Go would work on this. There's a headphone jack and Sony's multi-AV output, which if you connect the right concatenation of cables together, I seem to recall, can give you a remote control from a LANC controller or something like that. It says it's got the 15 times clear image zoom on top of the 10 times optical. I've never had much luck with Sony's clear image zoom. It doesn't matter how much they call it clear image. I say you can see the image degrading slightly. Others may choose to disagree. That's a 5.1 channel surround mic. It's quite neat actually. You could easily put a little windjammer over that without too much problem. And then underneath here, yeah, that just sort of, do you know, that's going to break, isn't it? That feels a bit flimsy. That's going to break one day. Yep. There's a standard, actually it is Sony's Clever shoe. I forget, they call it, what do they call it? Multi-interface shoe? Something like a Sony Clever shoe. But I think it's of a standard size and you could just plug ordinary dumb accessories in there. They've left enough space behind. You will recall on the CX100 and AX100, they'd recessed the cold shoe into the body of the camcorder, so you couldn't actually put anything in to slide it into the shoe unless it had a separate little cutout, which was made it all very Sony proprietary. But this one, I think you can get pretty much any accessory into. How does that shut? Ooh, yeah, see, I told you I'm going to break that. Oh, there we go. That's fine. Right, there we go. Very quick unboxing. Of course, the interesting thing, it does feel quite solid, I tell you what. It feels pleasantly hefty, not unpleasantly hefty. Pleasantly hefty. How does it feel in the hand? Oh, you could tell you what. You can feel that balanced lens mechanism wobbling about when you just hold it. That's really disconcerting. I'm sure it's a good thing, but it's a little disconcerting to feel something apparently flopping about as you hold the camcorder. But I tell you what, that's quite good in the hand. It's quite, yeah, it feels, as usual, these things never quite fit under where my thumb goes. It's under the sort of the knuckle rather than the actual thumb. And as always, my finger goes well over the point where the zoom will be, but it's not a huge problem, is it? You just move your finger back a bit, but there you go. The interesting thing, I was about to say, we'll be comparing this with its direct rival from Panasonic. This, of course, I unboxed and did some tests on in the last couple of weeks, the HC-VX870. Let's just put them together so you can see. Now, I've got the little cold shoe sticking out the back of the Panasonic, but if I put them like that, and also possibly just zoom back a fraction. There we go, we can see them better size-wise. Now, you notice the Panasonic doesn't have a viewfinder on the back, the Sony does. I'm not sure who's got the bigger screen, or if they're about the same size. About the same size, I think, aren't they? Not entirely sure. You do get a little lens hood with the Panasonic, which you don't with the Sony. You do get, of course, the ring on the front with the Sony for control, whereas the Panasonic has this silly little dial, which, as I've discovered, once you've put a tripod plate on the bottom, and I'm not talking about one of those tiny little tripods plates that you get with something that costs sort of 50 quid in a high street shop. I mean a proper tripod plate on a proper tripod. It not only obscures the SD slot on the Panasonic, but also the battery release, and more importantly, gets in the way of you actually using this silly little scroll wheel. So it is nice on the Sony to have a proper ring on the front. I'll say that for it. Initial impressions are, I mentioned this before with the Panasonic, it's lighter, but it feels flimsier. The Sony, heavier, but feels, I don't know, feels more solid. Perhaps one shouldn't just judge on looks and weight, but the Sony feels more solid and feels more compact despite being wedgier from the side. There they are anyway. I will put up not only tests of the Sony, but I will do direct tests against the Panasonic in terms of picture quality, low light ability, stabilization. The Panasonic, it has to be said, has the much bigger zoom. I think it's a 20 times optical, isn't it, on the Panasonic, which goes up to 25 times or even 40 times in HD mode. The Sony is a 10 times zoom. I don't think I'm that bothered about the extra zoom, but we shall find out. Anyway, there you go. A quick unboxing of Sony's FDR-AXP33. I'll get the battery on charge and hopefully get some tests with this up over the next few days. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was interesting. Hope it was useful. Any questions, put them in the comments below. If this was useful to you, please do give the video a quick thumbs up, a click on the like button. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel and would like to know when those new videos come up, the test videos and the comparison with the Panasonic, subscribe to the channel as well. It is free and YouTube should tell you every time I upload a new video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.